Wolfchase Toyota Insider on the Memphis Tiger Network. I'm Jeff Brywell alongside Melissa McPherson. And Coach, into the season now. We are off and running. You're out to a 3-1 start. Overall, real quick, through 4 games, I know just a small sample of the season, but just kind of your thoughts on the year.
Well, I think right now we're trying to figure out, obviously we've got 4 returning seniors, so we've got a pretty good idea who the core of our team's going to be. But right now we're trying to figure out who that first sub is off the bench, second sub, who can be reliable. Of our young players, who can we count on? So we're still tweaking a few things as far as substitution and things like that. But right now I'm really pleased with the production that we're getting from our post players. That, of course, was our inconsistency a year ago. At this stage in the season, it's looking like one of our strengths. We've got to shoot the ball a little bit better from the perimeter, but right now I really like what we're getting from our posts, and at least with our depth, we have some options as to who we go to on the bench.
Coach, you've played 4 games in an exhibition game, 4 quarters, no more one-on-one. I know that the tricky part of the new rules is getting those timeouts, especially late in the game, trying to figure out how those kind of are going to work out. What do you think about the new system this year?
Well, I like it. I think the timeouts at the end of the game, we've spent a lot of time on those, and I think we're pretty tidied up on those. But to be honest with you, you only carry 3 timeouts forward, not 4. So those timeouts go very quickly. So people think, oh, the last end of the game, you automatically advance. That has not been the case. You will run out of timeouts if you start taking a timeout immediately when you go to 59.9. So I think we figured those things out. For our players, I think that, and even for us, I think the more difficult thing has been you got to watch the clock, because you now have end of quarter situations where the players are not always used to that. So we've had a couple of those come into play where we haven't really seen the clock at the end of a quarter. And then the other thing for me in particular, and even for our players, I think, is when do the timeouts come? You know, the automatic medias, the one that aren't automatic. The first called timeout in the second half sometimes it has been in the fourth quarter. So there's still a few of those things. We've got people watching them. So, but there have been a couple of things that haven't been critical late game, but have come as a surprise as we've gone into those new rules. But I like them.
All right, Coach. Let's talk about some of the games. First of all, let's go back last week up in Lawrence, a 72-63 loss to Kansas. You got great effort out of that. You're into the game very late in the game. They kind of got you hurried on a few shots. And as you mentioned the other day, just kind of got you on the offensive rebounds in the last 4 minutes.
I was pleased overall with the Kansas game, and I hate to say that about a loss, but we went into that game, we were very invested, and you could see it on our players' faces. And we keep what we call a dirty stat. We won't talk about what that means, but it's basically hustle points. And we probably had the highest total that we've probably had in 4 years. So I know our kids were invested. We were after every loose ball. But those offensive rebounds late really, really hurt us. It was a 4-point game with 4 minutes to play. It was still a 4-point game with just over 2 minutes to play. Offensive rebounds did us in late. We got a couple good looks at the basket and couldn't get some shots to go in. But I was pleased that we were in the game that late. Displeased that we weren't able to come up with the win at Kansas, because I think that was a winnable game for us.
The complete opposite against Georgetown on Sunday, a game that you won, but I know you were not happy with the effort after the game. It was a game in the first quarter. Twice you had a 13-point lead. Late in the third quarter, twice you had a 16-point lead. 2 different chances really to put the ball game away, especially going toward the fourth quarter. And I guess it was 30 or 40 seconds left in the game. They cut that thing to 1 point.
They did. And we've talked to our team a lot about consistency in our practice habits, consistency in our mental preparation for games, consistency in our performance, and that certainly was an inconsistent effort. I thought many times throughout the course of the game we were playing very, very well, but I thought that we took some early quick shots when we could have worked the clock. Our post players have been rock solid, and for our perimeter players to take some early quick shots right now is nearly an unforgivable sin. Also, we had some turnovers that were just completely unexplainable. And some what I call pass and catch situations, just some easy situations where you got to deliver the basketball and you got to secure it. And that made the game very interesting down the stretch. So, no, we were not pleased with that game overall. And I think anytime you finish like that, then that's what you're sitting on in the locker room.
Well, you go over to Little Rock Friday to play the Trojans, Joe Foley's team. even when we played them in scrimmages, even before you got here, I always kind of liked watching his team because they play very hard. They'll try to push you around a little bit, try to get in your head, intimidate you. They're going to find a way to try to win those ball games. So it's going to be a huge challenge on the road.
They're very, very sound defensively. They do nothing except half court man-to-man. They don't pretend. They don't try to press you full court. They don't try to press you half court. There are no gimmicks. It is half court man-to-man defense, and that's why early in our time here we really like to play them because they will make you grind. I also like to play them because their motion offense is what it is. It's not complex. It is what it is. It's screening, it's reading screens, it's guarding screens, and they were a very good prep for us. They've now lost close to Tulane at Tulane. They lost close to LSU, so we know that this is a team to be contended with, and we've got to go to their court. Our players know, even after practice yesterday, Adriana Fuquabe says, ladies, this team is no joke. You may not know their name, but it has been a battle with them from the time that I got here. Now we're talking about a senior saying those things. So I thought that was very apropos on her part to inform our young players what this team is. And so we go in knowing what we're in for, and our seniors know what message they need to send to the young players.
And then you'll come back home on Sunday, Southern Illinois, a team last year. You went up there a little banged up. That was you guys hit a stretch of sickness, and that's not an excuse because SIU that night could have beat a lot of people, and unfortunately they got up on us big at the half and didn't let up on the second.
Our second senior, I'm going to give him kudos right now. Ariel Hearn this week for one of our thoughts of the day said, "Excuses are building blocks for nothingness." And so I thought that was very good to your point. No excuses. There are no excuses. SIU comes to us. They beat us last year because we didn't play very well there. And so they come back to us this year. We know we stubbed our toe against them a year ago. This is a team that was picked 4th in the Valley. The Valley is not a bad basketball conference. The Valley is a good women's basketball conference. So we've got to be on our toes for 2 games this week. And our preparation this week will tell if our preparation this week is critical. If we prepare well, we should play well. If we don't prepare well, then these are 2 games and 2 opponents that you don't want to mess with.
All right, Coach, we'll try to get both of them then. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jeff.
That's head coach Melissa McFerrin. I'm Jeff Brightwell with the Wolfchase Toyota Insider on the Memphis Tiger Network.